Okay. Let's see if I press OK, that disappears. Okay, it's disappeared. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Freedom Thinking Community Group. My name's Dave Elleray. Thank you all for being here. We've got a lovely group of people who've arrived from many different parts of the world, and I think that's really, really beautiful when we all get the opportunity to come together like this. So thank you all for being here. Yeah, I'm one half of Freedom Thinking. The other half is Jenny, and she's putting our young lady to bed. So hopefully that goes smoothly. We'll find out in good time. Tonight I will be disappearing off, but Jen will be hosting predominantly. That's if everything turns out as we think it's potentially should turn out, and we hope. But we all know enough about life to know that it doesn't always turn out like that. Yeah, welcome. If you've been following us for a while, thank you very much. And if you're new, welcome. This is an opportunity. This is a space for everyone. It's a space for everybody to come together and to explore. It's a space to come and explore the nature of life. Everybody is welcome. We used to put the link out on YouTube, on Facebook, and stuff like that, and we got no end of Zoom bombing. We do struggle with being targeted for some reason for okay, our website's been destroyed and all kinds of things. So yeah, we've had to kind of clamp down the the open invitation to everybody, not out of our choice, but out of necessity. We have an obligation to everybody on this screen and to everybody who watches to make sure you're safe and you don't have to watch horrific things being shown to you on a screen by a Zoom bomber, or we've had threats to kill our daughter and all kinds of horribleness. So we're just having to kind of just rein it in. And so we ask that if you wish to join us on the evening, on Monday evenings, we try our best to do this on Monday evenings. We ask that you drop us an email, and if you wish, we can put you on a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group. And it's called Freedom Thinking Information, and it's just where we share information. We don't share a lot. We don't spam it. We ask people not to text on it and commune on it. We just ask that they do that independently so people aren't getting spammed continuously. So yeah, if you wish to join us, you can either ask us to put you on Telegram or WhatsApp, or just email us and we will send you out the link. It is better for us if you're on WhatsApp or Telegram because it saves us missing you out if we're having to in like separately invite people. People get missed. So if we can just send it out on one link, then it makes our life a lot easier. And also, when we've recorded these, we upload it up to Telegram, WhatsApp, so people can just watch them as and when, share them, do whatever they wish with them. Okay, we do these via donation, and we do that so it's available to anyone. Thank you to everybody who donates. It is so sincerely appreciated. We really, really appreciate it. Here comes the brains of the operation. Just starting up. Plug them in. Yeah, you plug that in. It's stuck in my teeth. Yeah, and if you wish to make a donation, in the description below this YouTube video, there is links. There's Buy Me a Coffee, there's PayPal, there's our email address. Some people just make a monthly donation on direct debit. So if you email us and you wish to do that, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. The best for us is the latter, and also PayPal. That's the best for us. Buy Me a Coffee takes money off us. Yes, there's a fee. So yeah, that's what's that for? Can you come up a bit?
Can you go down a
You're
bit?
not really small.
Yeah.
Mm.
Otherwise I can't touch the floor.
Really? Really? No. Never knew that about you. This is Jenny.
What's been said?
Nothing. I just done the businessy professional part.
You got any ideas?
No, why do you keep looking at my hair?
Not looking at you.
I haven't got any ideas. Does anybody have anything they wish to talk about this evening?
I do have a question about moods. I've heard Dickens talk about them like it's kind of like they're like weather systems. But then I've heard another practitioner say that they're actually caused by sort of invisible thinking. So any light you could shed on that would be great.
And do you hear those two descriptions as being different?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But like when you hear Dickens saying it's like weather systems, how is that? How are you hearing that?
That it's sort of uncaused by me.
Okay. And then the other way you've heard it described, how do you hear that?
That I have a hand in it that I'm not aware of.
Okay, cool. And I just wanted to clarify because yeah, sometimes I think I know what somebody's asking and then I haven't asked enough questions. But I think it's an interesting thing because there are two ways to describe how we experience moods or feel. Another word for moods is feelings. But a feeling or a mood can never just happen to us. It's always going to be coming from thought, whether conscious or unconscious. So I think it's I liked the fact that the principle simplified all of that stuff and of all the different labels we have for different feelings and thoughts and moods down to it all comes from thought. Every single experience that we have is coming to us through principles. And some of our thinking is visible and some of it's invisible. So I don't really, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we can hear things and then kind of we make sense of it through our own understanding, our own awareness. But I think the nice thing for me was the simplicity, and every single experience that a human being can have is coming to them via the power of thought through us. So we're never a victim of anything. We're just in the experience of thought. And then if we're in a good mood, we don't really question it too much. If we're in a bad mood, we then start to wonder where it's come from, or are we doing something wrong, and we overthink it. But it's knowing that it's all coming alive from the same place. I don't know if you'd add to that. Are you recording?
Yeah, I'm recording, yeah.
Oh, on the computer?
No, on the cloud.
Okay.
I deleted a lot.
Okay, cool. Hold
on. Yeah, I liked your question. Like, are you hearing something different? In the question, one person refers to it as the weather, the other person refers to it as thinking you're not aware of. And I like your question. Do you see them as different? Do you see them as separate from one another? Two different mechanisms by which experience is being born. And I appreciated your answer. Yeah, the weather appears to me like it's something that happens to me. But I'm not sure if at that point you're suggesting whether it would be outside of you as opposed to the weather of our mind. And the weather is a kind of a metaphor that's been used for a very long time to describe experience. It is something that's always changing. I'm from the Lake District. Crystal's from the Lake District. And we have a saying in the Lake District, if you don't like the weather, give it 5 minutes. And it's changed. And we're very similar. We're very similar as beings, that our experience changes like the weather. 1 minute you can be in a nice sunny mood and the next minute you're in a frigging thunderstorm. Just like that. But I think one of the things that humanity has been blinded to, or blinded by, is the actual experience and the actual feelings without the awareness of the origin of that experience? What is the origin of experience itself? After all, a feeling is just an experience. Like sight is an experience, like sound is an experience. To hear is experiential. Feeling is experiential. Communication's experiential. Taste, smell, it's all experiential. Balance, temperature, it's all experiential. What we think is experiential. What we feel is experiential. And when you look at that point, you realize, no, we're talking about the entirety of experience. That's what life is, it's experience. That's what reality is, it's experience. Reality is a spiritual experience. And every single one of us is a creator. Every single one of us is the ultimate phenomena. Like, we get to give birth to experience, but one of the experiences that we get to give birth to, and it seems like humanity has done this en masse for whatever reason, is the experience that you don't create the experience. That is within the infinite possibilities of mind, the potential for us to create the experience, that we are not creating the experience we're living in any given moment. Now, I don't know why that is. Perhaps it's part of the game. Perhaps it's why we chose to be human. Perhaps we wanted to play that game of what's it like for Source, for God, whatever you want to call it, for the soul to play the game that it's not creating experience. What's that experience like? Perhaps we've got a curiosity within our being that needs to be satisfied. I don't know. Speculating. But for some reason, that's what's happening. And much of the experience that we're living out of is unconscious. It's, when I say unconscious, it's totally aware. However, you are totally aware of your experience because you're living it. However, what you are unaware of is the origin, the source. When we talk about the unconscious, what we're talking about is us being unaware of the source, of the origin. You see, if I think a thought, and a thinking thought, I nearly said thinking thought, I don't want to do it, wouldn't it? A thinking thought, a conscious thought, I'm very aware that I'm consciously thinking. However, when I'm driving down the road and I'm chatting away to Jen or Lucia, or just minding my own business, listening to a talk or to some music, I'm not consciously thinking about driving. However, remove thought from the equation of driving. Remove it. What happens? What's going to happen? What's the inevitable outcome if you remove the power of thought from the driver whilst they're driving? And there's an inevitable outcome, and it doesn't look pretty. So when I'm driving, I'm not consciously thinking. However, there is something that is calculating distance. There's something that's calculating speed. There's something that's looking out for speed cameras. There's something that's looking out for signposts. There's something that's looking out for traffic going on behind me, debris in the road. I'm forever looking out for animals. That's one of my things. I very conscious. In my mind, I'm very conscious driver of animals. That's something that does come to me a lot, consciously thinking. But I don't consciously think about driving the vehicle. However, I get from A to B regularly without any problem. Touch wood. It's all bloody MDF. Great. So yeah, so we are aware that we have this power within us that we're not consciously thinking. However, we're very capable of still enacting and executing tasks and doing all kinds of things, like riding a bike. At one point we had to think about riding a bike. At one time we had to think about walking. At one point we had, we hold on to something. We watched Lucia do this, hold on to something, then let go. Oh, look, I'm doing it, and then falling over. And then bit by bit, we learn. And as we learn, we no longer have to think about it because it becomes second nature. It becomes unconscious, second nature. But a lot of the stuff that we live out of in terms of how we experience our reality, most of it is experience, the experience of our reality is created from thought that doesn't look like thought. It just looks like reality. You know, and that's where that's where, like Jen was just describing, for me, this conversation was the most valuable thing I ever learned in my life. I can't think of a more important conversation mankind could be having. I really can't. It astounds me that there are millions of people lining up to have this conversation. It blows my mind because this is the most important conversation we could be having it right now. Understanding reality, understanding how we experience life. Because the moment you realize it, you realize you're not a victim of anything outside of you. You are the creator of your experience. 100%. Not 99, not 50, but 100%. There is nothing outside of you that creates experience, because experience is coming from within. And it's experience that we're interested in. Experience. Can we think of another word for experience?
I was going to actually Google it and actually hear what the definition of the word experience
Yeah.
is.
Do it.
Life.
Do it. Yeah, I want to think of another word for experience, because perhaps the word experience isn't like cutting the mustard. But life, your life, my life, how it appears, how my life appears, well, I experience that.
Or even feelings, is it?
Yeah, and feelings.
Practical contact with an observation of facts or events. He had learned his lesson by painful experience. An event or occurrence which leaves an impression on someone. Audition day is an enjoyable experience for any. This is all quite outside in, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all experiences, aren't they?
Yeah. Encounter or undergo an event or occurrence the company is experiencing difficulties.
Yeah, they're crap. Yeah, they're kind of experiences.
Cambridge Dictionary.
But we're talking about all experience. And so what this conversation often allows people to do is to become aware of how they think. Because once we start to become aware that our thought and feeling are really the one, the vibration of the feeling, the vibration of thought that we're living in, another word to say that the vibration of the perspective that we're holding in any given moment is what we feel, that our feelings are how it appears to us. So it's almost making what Jen would call the invisible visible. So if I kind of am driving down the road and somebody's not driving correctly and I get a little bit wound up and, I don't know, give them the finger and shout some abuse at them. Oh,
Funny that you do that.
I don't do that.
Oh.
Not very often.
So I thought you were just saying that you did that.
No, I wasn't, but
Oh.
sometimes I do that. Every now and again. Not very often. Try not to. But if I was ever to do that, it would be because of a thought. I've had the thought to do it. Now, is that conscious or unconscious? More often than not, speaking from personal experience, it's unconscious. It's not something that I've consciously kind of calculated within my mind. Oh, have they done this? Have they done that? Have they taken that into account? Well, you know, this, that, and the other. You know, I haven't calculated it with my conscious thinking. It's just been oh, you wanker. And then I felt that. I felt it. But one of the beautiful things about my life is I spoke about this at the conference, and Charles, who runs the conference, he came up to me one day, last time no, this year I spoke at the conference as well, but this was 2015. I spoke at the conference in London, and I spoke about my road rage, where I would be driving along and I'd have my vehicle in reverse.
You'd meet at a narrow point, you'd reverse for somebody to put them through.
Sorry, I've been not very specific, am I? Yeah. So where I live in the Lake District, very narrow roads. I pull into a passing place. I put my vehicle in reverse in case they never said thank you. And they had until they were level with me to say thank you. And if they didn't, I would reverse and block their means of escape. And then I would get out my vehicle and I would open up their door and I would get a hold of them and I'd go, "Where's your manners?" I mean, and I think I said at the conference, that's like the definition of irony. I'm sure it is. That is literally the definition of irony. And one of the things that coming across the principles allowed me to do was to, I can't even say that that's true. One of the consequences of coming across the principles was that quietened down. One of the consequences of insight was that really quietened down. So where I used to do that every frigging day, pretty much, it might happen 2 or 3 times a year.
Well, yeah, but I've never actually. You might say the stuff, but in 10 years, I've seen you get out of the car twice and actually never open someone else's door, just say something to them. So and I remember you saying there's always a level of awareness or
Common sense
that never used to be. It used to be like blind rage, whereas now you've said in your head, you're like, don't hit someone, don't hit them, will go through your head. You never used to have any of that. You'd just be so lost in it. So even when you have like lost your temper, there's an awareness there that stops you taking it that step further, which has bigger consequences.
And I can't rationalize that part. You know, there's no rationality to that part. As far as when I say rationality, there's clearly a rationality, but my intellect doesn't understand that. I don't understand that. So one of the things that you start to become aware of is how you think. Wow, I feel like this. I must have that kind of thinking going on in the background. And it gives you an opportunity to become aware. You know, all Buddha spoke about was awareness. That's all Buddha spoke about was awareness. And really, that's all Sid spoke about. He said, Sid was just constantly telling people, raise your level of awareness. Raise your level of awareness. And as you raise your level of awareness, you start to come out of your own illusions. The invisible starts to become visible. And as you raise your level of awareness, your weather passes through quicker. In other words, your thinking changes quicker, which means that your feelings change quicker. You know, we've lived through a time when we've really tried to manage everything because we're total control freaks. But whatever created mankind is an intelligence far beyond anything we can comprehend. However, we are it. And so, with that in mind, whatever built us didn't take its eye off the ball when it made us. Any of us, not one person did it take its eye off the ball when it made you or me. Not one person. Because endowed within every single person is the capacity to create experience. That's our gift. We create experience. We create reality. I'm not talking outside of ourselves. I'm talking about the experience of the external dimension, which isn't separate. It's the same thing. So if we want to live in a different world, Buddha said this, the Buddhists talk about this, stop trying to change yourself, stop trying to change the world, change yourself. When you change yourself, your world will change. Why is that? Because we live in a dream state experiential reality.
I think like a practical example of that is I've used it before, but when I was in New Zealand, I went for a run along a beach and then came back, put my bag down, and then when I went to pack up, I realised stuff was missing out of my bag. And I knew that I'd put my stuff down, I'd been for a run, I'd come back, and so then suddenly the beach looked like it was full of guilty people, and I was thinking, well, those people that walked past looked dodgy, and oh, that other person I saw, they look like I think they could have been the ones that did it. And I went from being in like New Zealand, which I'm like, I love New Zealand, it's so safe, it's wonderful, I love being at the beach, I feel comfortable leaving my stuff. to feeling like I was like looking around. I went into like anxiety and started thinking everyone looked guilty. And then I sort of got all my stuff together and went back up the road. And as I was walking up the road, I was, that's weird. There's an apple there. Oh, that's weird. There's an orange. And then eventually I realised, hang on a minute, there's quite a few bits of my, and so I'd run down the road and dropped half my stuff out my bag, including my camera, which I didn't find. But I could see how I went from living in a beautiful, peaceful world, this is amazing, I feel really safe, this is great, to I feel like someone's touched my stuff, who was it? And everyone looked, so just through the change of thought, the whole experience of being there looked different. And I think that happens to us invisibly all the time, with people, with places. The way that we see it is coloured by the way that we think, but it's so quick, it's so seamless that we get lost in it. And I think the raising a level of awareness or raising a level of conscious state, you seem to have more, or you have more, what's the word?
Sovereignty?
No.
Autonomy?
You're more discerning.
No.
You're more discerning, and you give yourself a moment, and the feeling can be a guide of that. Like, you can see that when we start getting panicked, and like you see it with me, if I think I'm in a rush, I start walking into things and knocking over things, and like I get really stupid when I'm panicked. So my feeling state is really saying, you're not in the best place. Try and like allow yourself to calm down before you try and do that. Whereas I don't, I just go into like full steam ahead, and you're like, damn, it's like not the end of the world. But you can see how where we are in consciousness then affects how we show up in the world. And unless we see it, we blindly live out of it. And I feel like the principles just makes things a bit more visible.
Yeah.
Or things fall away and we just don't act out of it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Rach, long-winded way of saying there's two ways to describe the same thing. Perhaps the description of weather is probably more form, as in it's the experience that's being created, feelings, and the experience of what your other person was talking about in terms of invisible thought, they're going more in line with the creator. So you've got creator and created, which are one anyway. So, Rach, does that help?
Absolutely. Thank you both so much.
Oh, you're welcome, love.
And I know, Wen, you had your hand up, so I didn't know if you wanted to say something to that as well.
Right.
I've forgotten now, it was ages ago you had your hand up.
Hi, I'm just going to stay off camera. Yeah, I basically, what came to me when Rachel posed that question was what I've come to see is that the only way that we can say I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm happy, I'm suspicious, I'm free as a bird on the New Zealand beach is through our quote unquote experience or our feelings. We don't have there's nothing to know unless we go, oh, I'm running on the beach, I'm having such a lovely time. That only can be verbalized, occur through the power of thought. Period. That's we can only label anything, whether it's Dickens' view or somebody else's view or whatever. All of that I've really come to see that at the base of all of everything is just our ability to put two and two together, and our ability in terms of mood to put two and two together. Jen just gave a really great example. You know, you're running on the beach, you're happy, everybody's lovely in New Zealand, the sun is warm, and then you figure out, oh my goodness, I've lost something. All these people on the beach are potential criminals. Now, if you had just come from a really wonderful dinner and, you know, had a lovely time with friends, you might say, I lost my stuff. And you might have a different view of the people on the beach. It might not have been, they all look like criminals. My point is that when we're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, when the body is under some sort of a physiological stress, if you will, that can color whatever the circumstance is. So we're going to come up with a different words. The experience of it, the feeling of it will be different if Jen had just had a wonderful meal, or if she was really lonely and missing her family back in the UK, and all of a sudden her camera was missing. She might dissolve in tears, but instead she looked around and said everybody's a criminal. I don't know if I'm making sense, but there's so many, or so there are things that come into our awareness that can vary moment to moment depending on so many things, but the only way to actually talk about them, label them, have them come to consciousness where you go, oh, I'm really upset with all the people in New Zealand. They stole my camera. Or I'm having a wonderful run on the beach, is through the power of thought. So I don't know if that's helping or hurting or whatever, but it just occurred to me that it's all the same, whether it's the Dickens way of talking about thought or the person who mentioned mood. It's all derivative of the same process, which is human beings' ability to come up with some sort of meaning making about our circumstances.
Cool. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
Thank you, love. Anybody else? Thanks, Wayne, for that. Anybody else want to speak to that one?
Or anything else?
Yeah, or anything else, yeah. It's nice to see Seeker sewing. A lass after my own heart. I do my own sewing.
Ali.
No. Ali.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, sorry, it hurts if I laugh. I've done something. I hurt my ribs and it hurts if I laugh.
Oh no.
I'm trying not to.
Oh, you know, I'm never
Don't be too fun. Yeah, just something that I noticed in the last, I don't know, for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've kind of had a view that I know you don't get principles. I know that, but sometimes you think you've fallen out of it and you can't see it for what it is. You can't see the thought for what it is or what it isn't. This is more accurate. And I periodically feel like I'm back at square one, and that it's like I haven't had any of the realizations or understandings that I've gained through the principles, and it's like I'm sort of 6 or 7 years ago. I know that's not true, but that's what it feels like. And last week was a bit challenging in various different ways. The details aren't that important. And they were challenging with a particular individual as well, or it was in my head anyway. And I didn't do anything with it, and I just kind of noticed I was having all this, or I'm back at square one kind of thinking. And then on Saturday, we had a really nice day, and we had a bit of an argument in the morning, but we still went on and had a really nice day. And when I looked back on it, the argument kind of, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, would have turned into a big standoff and a very difficult weekend, and a lot of not talking, and a lot of being really cross, and a lot of being really upset. And actually, it didn't make it kind of we just kind of got on with the day, and we had a lovely day and we had a lovely weekend. And it just made me realise that, no, I'm not back at square one, because that kind of thing could have caused quite a problem. And it didn't cause a problem, and we had a fabulous day. And it just kind of underlined to me that I think everybody from time to time thinks, oh, I've kind of lost it. I don't know where I am with this stuff. And it was kind of, there was my evidence that I hadn't gone back to square one. And it was just quite striking to me, because I had quite a bit of thinking about being back at square one. And I think sometimes we don't realise how far we have come and what we have learned and what we have gained, when things get a bit tricky or we get lost in our own little world. So yeah, I was just kind of just wanted to share.
Love.
I think we did a community group, it was either last week or the week before, and I just said to you afterwards, you kept saying, if you got anything, I'm like, I don't even feel like I know what I'm talking about anymore at all. Like I had nothing. And I felt
very tired,
I
weren't
was so tired. I just felt like, I think I know this is really simple, and I know that I've spoken about it for 20 years. What is there to talk about? It was like a really bizarre experience. And then I felt like you just kept looking at me like I was mad. And then
I
afterwards,
wasn't. I really liked what you were saying. I think you're mad afterwards for saying that.
yeah, but I like, I don't know, I think sometimes we just take ourselves so seriously again, and we get caught in the details. But like, I know that if I looked at my day and like reflected on things, and there'd be areas where I'm totally lost, and areas where I'm like just in the moment. Like today, I've been really excited. Like Lucia's desperate to go and see The Lion King. And there's something called Magic Mondays with Disney. You sign up for an account on Monday at 12 o'clock. You have to like log in. So I'd logged in at like 11:30, and it was like a countdown. And then she was in the bath, and I'd set a timer, and I could feel myself getting more and more like, I need to make sure I do this, and I've got to get these tickets, and I've only really got this week that I can do it before it gets more expensive at Christmas. And then like when I was doing it, I was shaking, and then I got to the point where I was like messing it up, and I couldn't click the ticket, and I'd pressed the wrong thing. And it's just tickets to go and see The Lion King. It's not the end of the world. They do it every single Monday. And I know we're not always down south, but then I did it, and then within 20 minutes of doing it, I was just getting on with my day, and like that anxiety and that kind of like heightened sense of awareness had gone down, and I'm just in the next moment. And I think if I spent time reflecting on like the content of my day and the ups and downs of my feelings,
Measuring it.
yeah, I could kind of see where I'd be like, oh God, why did I get so stressed doing that? How ridiculous. But it's just that we're just here, and we're just human, and so much of our experience is invisible. Like I know people that do really well under time pressure. They really perform well. If I think I've got time pressure, I like go to pieces. And that's going to be invisible thought and story and all of the rest of it. But it's nice to just know that once we even before we have a wake up to this, we still have this within us. We're still the creator. We still have moments where we've been just present in the moment, enjoying life, or present in the moment with grief, or present in the moment with something. We're in the moment. We're not in the past or the future. And then there's going to have been times where we're totally lost. That was before we came across the principles as well. Moments of clarity, moments of haze. And it's like, it's just what happens. Like we see it, we don't see it. We see it, we don't see it. Starting to understand the truth of that, starting to understand what creates all of it, I think then allows us to have more awareness in the moments where we're not seeing it. Like you were saying, you felt like you were back at square one, but you knew that wasn't true. And that's a very different place to be than I'm back at square one and believing that to be true, and then buying into that story and thinking it meant something.
Yeah.
So even with, like Sid always used to say, wherever you go in consciousness, you take your understanding with you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And how you talk about the weather that we have every day. And that's been more obvious that that's what we do. And you mentioned that quite a lot, Jenny. You know, you kind of, so many different things happen throughout the day, from when you get up, from when you go to bed, and you get lost, and some things you're more present to and some things you aren't. And it just is more apparent. It just kind of, you just notice that,
I think you're in and out.
even if you don't enjoy it.
Yeah. But I know that for you, like you used to spend much longer periods of like low feeling and then worry about the low feeling. And like seeing you show up over the years, you can see huge changes. And like I've loved it sometimes when you've been on retreat, and actually the retreat itself, you've kind of had quite a lot of emotion come up, and it's not been like the most comfortable. And then
Yeah.
it'll be like on the drive home or on the train home or whatever, you've kind of then got filled with this space and this understanding and this knowledge. And I think we put so much on a feeling and we make it mean something about whether we're getting life right or wrong. But actually it's all life. It's all experience, it's all reality, and there's learning in all of it. And I think that's the other thing I feel the principles gives us as human beings, is it gives us eyes for learning from our experience. We have this incredible gift of memory and an ability to kind of view what's gone on, and can we do better next time? Is there another way? And rethink and rethink and rethink. But we get so stuck on the content so much of the time. But
We get mesmerized by our own experience, don't we?
yeah,
We get mesmerized by our realities and we go, oh, is this the real me? Right? And we're trying to find ourselves in the form. You can't, nobody can go back to who they were. Totally impossible. But we hear it a lot. Excuse me. I don't know. Nothing right. You can't go back. There is no going back. We live in an eternal now. Back implies time. Back implies you left the now. Back implies you went somewhere. Nobody ever goes anywhere. You don't go anywhere. There's no going back. You are creator. Back to what? If anybody can come up with a logical explanation of, no, it's true, you can go back to who you are, I'd love to hear it. Because in my mind, it's entirely impossible. It doesn't exist. And that's one of the delusions that we beat ourselves up with. That's one of the
I think
great
it's
souls.
because you can go back in the form, like in terms of you can do the same things.
That's not going back though.
But
That's creating in the now.
But you can see how people confuse the form of a behavior or a
A
something.
recognized experience.
So because you've done it once before, you think you can go back to it.
That's right.
But it's like, no, but you're creating it in the moment, so it's never
Yeah.
back. But you can see why we get confused by that.
Totally see why we get confused.
Because you're like, oh,
One of them's
I've gone back to being
Yeah.
cross with the traffic.
Yeah.
Well, no, in that moment you're feeling cross with the traffic.
Yeah.
You haven't gone back to what it used to be, but
That's right.
but it looks like it.
Yeah, and I can see why people do get confused, but I want, the fact of the matter is it's an illusion. You can't go back. There is no going back. You don't go back to your old self. It's like this is the diagram that woke my sister up. This was a diagram Sid shared with people. He said, from the formless comes the form. Okay. That is what is always happening in the now. That's how physicality is born. That's how form is born. And form can be a thought. Form can be a thought. It's something being born in the present moment. That's all that's ever taking place. This is the constant, unchanging reality. This is the truest state of reality, formlessness. This is a constantly changing dynamic state. Okay. Just watch out your window. Watch the world change in front of your eyes. Watch the weather patterns change. Watch the leaves blow off. Watch the bird fly by, watch the bird take a little break, watch a cat walk through your garden. Yeah, form does not sit still. Why? Because it's a constant creation process taking place. From formless comes the form. They're not separate from one another, they are one. You can't comprehend how formlessness can turn into form, because the moment you go to comprehend it, you instantly go to form to understand formlessness. What do you mean? Well, the moment you try and comprehend it, you start thinking, and the moment you start thinking, you are in form. You are thinking in form. So form can't see formlessness. So really, there's just no going back. This is a now process. This is a now thing. It's eternally now, taking place now. As I'm doing this is formlessness, the energy animating form. It's just an ongoing process. And the more we kind of have a deeper sense of respect for that point, the more we can kind of allow ourselves to experience everything. That's the only thing that's going on. So joy, hatred, division, excitement, optimism, fear, anguish, trees, humans, fish, planets, dust, protons, electrons, photons, whatever. It's all the same thing, just constantly taking place. And it just so happens that, this is our truest state of being, formless. Formlessness, nothingness is the truest state of being. It's constant. The form is constantly changing. Nothing sits still in form. Everything is born and dies. Everything that is in form comes and goes. Everything. So, with that in mind, which version of you is going back? Which you is it? Because if there's one thing that is a really useful thing to know, is that this formlessness is infinite potential. Look, just study, just look at something, just look at one thing. Pick a blade of grass and study it, and you'll notice more and more and more and more and more and more about it. The more you look at something, the more you see. Infinitum. This is infinite potential. Okay, which means we are infinite potential. So which version of our infinite self are we holding ourselves prisoner to? Which version of our infinite self do we identify as being actually us? Because it doesn't matter what version it is you, but also not you. It's a potential of your own being, but it's not you. It's like, it's like an ocean mistaken in itself for a wave. And the more we kind of gain an appreciation, and all we need to do is just take a few moments just to reflect back throughout our life and see how we've gone through all these different experiences. Or maybe just look back at the last couple of days and how you felt different about different things, and your feeling states have come and gone, and you were an angry version of yourself in that moment, and a self-righteous version of yourself in that moment, and then the next moment you were a compassionate version of yourself. And you see, which one are you? You're all of it and none of it.
That's just what I was going to say.
Sorry,
All
love.
of it.
Sorry.
All of it, none of it.
All of it, none of it. But we struggle and we suffer when we think that we are finite, because we identify with the form. The form is finite. Okay, so the form is how we're showing up, how we're thinking, how we're showing up, how we're feeling, how our experience looks to us. That's finite. That is definitely going to change. Always has and always will. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you drop into the depths of despair, it's the same force in action that will later lift your frequency of being into a whole different frequency. It's the same thing. It's all the same thing. There's no outside of you that you ever get to encounter. Everything is experience. There's no outside of experience. It's infinite experience taking place on Earth right now. And people walk around as though there's one reality. No, there's infinite reality taking place on Earth right now. I know my experience is different to Jenny's, who's different to Lucia's, who's different to everybody's on screen, who's different to the Robin I saw this morning who was sat by my van and didn't even move as I drove away. You know, and that's different to the blackbird who sits in the tree and sings, and it's different to the pigeon. That's different to the cat, that's different to the dog, that's different to the tree, that's different to the insect, that's different to the bacteria, that's different to the photon, that's different to the electron. Infinite experience is birth and death taking place right here, right now, constantly. Every single cell is a state of awareness. It's experience. It's an experience. It is aware. It knows what to do. So we have really, when human beings talk about there is only one reality, and usually it's given to us by the frigging news or an attempted thing to give us all a singular reality, and we're telling you the truth. Well done, BBC. Top job. Sorry, I really wanted to get that in there.
So neutral over it.
So neutral over the BBC and their frigging propaganda. But the BBC are entitled to that reality, just as I'm entitled to my reality. And it may be I change my mind on that.
And
Because
even within the BBC, it's
there's infinite reality.
infinite realities of people
Totally.
within it. It's not an organisation, it's made up of
People. That's right. Which just have a script. But anyway, conspiracy theory version, Dave, shut the fuck up. But it's true. There's infinite versions of ourselves. And it's very, very easy for us to identify one of them as being really us. And more often than not, it's when we're suffering.
I think that's why it's so cool seeing Lucia, because you see she doesn't hold on to any version of herself. Like the one moment she's so like loving towards you and she's so excited to see you, and then you tried to help with something, you didn't get it right, so she gave you a bit of a whack and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I was going to go and have a shower, and then you came downstairs and she's just, oh Daddy, I love you so much, and like giving you kisses, and she doesn't hold on to anything. She's so fluid. And I think like she's been obsessed with a doll called Raya for, it'll be 2 years this month. It's 2 years, and then the last 2 months she's like being phased out. And there's part of me like wanting to hold on to, but what about Raya? We need to take Raya with us. But I'm managing to not do that because I'm allowing her to let go of what, like she's letting go of it for whatever reason, and she might go back to her, but
she's changing,
and like get her interests are changing. What she wants to do is different, and her fascination on things is completely changed at the moment to what it was even like 2 weeks ago. But you can see it. It's like it's almost like seeing life in like this, in like sped up, because it's just it's so momentary and it's so fluid and it's so changeable, and we kind of we can see that, but like as she's getting older, it's definitely not moving as fast as when she, like a year ago. Like she's getting a bit more solid on things, and I'm like this and I do like that and I don't like that. But you can see that before there wasn't any attachment to any of the creations, and there's now a few more, like she's a bit more attached to things than she used to be.
Yeah.
And she will, like she's growing up with 2 parents that have some awareness about the principles, but she's just a little being making sense of the world, and she's going to create all kinds of things that create beauty, beliefs that limit her. It doesn't seem there's anything you can do as parents to prevent the fact that she's going to create all these ideas and beliefs and live a life. it's still the principles
Create-
taking form.
create the experience from the infinite experience of limitation.
Yeah. And I think that's the like we always say, our only role really is to try not to put our ideas on her and allow her as much as possible to be like a free. She is a free thinker, but not
Or
trying.
sell her.
Or would never do that.
I wouldn't sell her. Hey, pal. But you know, that point about you know, which version of ourself are we holding on to? Which version of ourself are we really identifying as being? You know, we was just saying this last night to a couple of friends. We had a couple of clients who they never stopped arguing. They argued and argued and argued. And I remember this lady rung me up and said how horrible her husband was and this, that, and the other, and she can't do it anymore, which is all I ever heard. And I just said to her, I said, when he walks through the door, which version of him do you meet? She said, what do you mean? I said, which version of him do you meet? She said, well, I meet him. I said, yeah, but are you meeting him from 2 weeks ago when he said that thing? Is that who you're meeting? Because that's been and gone. That's come and gone. He's come and gone. Are you meeting him from 2 days ago when he said that thing? Because that's come and gone. Who are you meeting? Which version of him are you meeting in your own mind? And she said she'd never thought about it. And I said, well, okay, I'll have a think about it. And later on, she said, I realized I could see who I was meeting. I was meeting my version of him from 6 months ago, she was saying. I was like, well, that's really interesting that you get to see that. I said, and that's so useful when it comes to you being able to communicate. I said, because if you're meeting him as a 6-month old version of himself, that stale version of himself, no wonder he gets pissed off. You know, he's like, why are we going here again? Why are we doing this again? And so it's like, that is a really, really useful thing for people to become aware of, how easy it is to hold ourselves to versions of ourselves, and how easy it is for us to hold on to you were the one who enlightened me to this point, how easy it is for us to hold on to versions of other people and communicate with them in that past sense. And the moment we do that, communication's greatly diminished, relationships start to collapse. You know, it's not then, like, and you pointed this out to me. You said there's nothing wrong with our relationship. This was years ago when we first got together. You said, oh, you think your feeling has something to do with our relationship. I said, yeah, because I was feeling a bit kind of meh, which was actually the word you used for me.
You felt disconnected.
Yeah, I felt disconnected. I said, I feel disconnected. I had to be straight. Look, Jen, I'm being honest with you. I feel disconnected. I don't feel like spark. I don't feel like we've got that thing between us anymore. And Jen went, I've been dying to say it for like a week. Never knew how to say it. So I was driving down to London with Jen in the car, and I thought I'd blurt it out. That'll be the best way to do it. Coming up to Thelwell Viaduct.
I think I was driving, actually.
No, I was driving.
One of us is right.
Yeah, one of us is right, yeah. I seem to remember looking over to my left when I saw you. That's the only reason why I say it. And I said, yeah, I don't feel that spark. I don't feel that connection, you know, and
I feel loads of pressure to make this work.
yeah, I feel so much pressure to make it work and all that, yeah. And then Jen just really casually just went, oh, you feel that too? I was like, what? She went, oh, I feel that. What? Yeah, I sometimes look at you, Dave, and sometimes I want to rip your clothes off. She said, and other times I just look at you and go, I was like, really? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, really? And then you went, do you know the difference between you and me though, Dave? I I said, no. You went, oh, you think it has something to do with our relationship. You think this means something to do with our relationship. I know it has everything to do with my state of mind. I was like, oh, yeah, all right. All right. Okay. Got down to London. I got into bed with you and I had the biggest insight. It was just this. I just burst out laughing. I remember just bursting out laughing. And you looked at me and went, what are you laughing at? I said, I've just had an insight. You said, what was it? I said, I haven't got a clue. I don't know. I can't tell you. And all of a sudden, you totally changed. And I fell straight back in love with you in that moment. And then we had to go through the fact that I totally rocked the apple cart. That lasted a few weeks where you kind of came back to equilibrium. But we've got a kid. Got a ring on your finger. You're screwed.
I think the thing that the principles gave me was that I'd always placed so much of my security in another person, my well-being, my happiness. And I think when I got together with you, I remember just saying, this is the first time really I have just gone into a relationship and I really want this relationship to work and I'm committed to it, but I know I'm all right.
Mm.
And I don't think I'd ever really felt like I'm all right. You don't complete me. I'm all right. And I think that's how, when we had that conversation, you know, if someone had said that to me like before, I think I probably would have been like, oh my God, this really means something. But even though I did feel a bit of a wobble afterwards,
I don't mean anything.
even though I had a bit of a wobble afterwards of like, blimey, I had no idea. Like the wobble I had was, oh God, I felt really close to you and like we'd been having a really nice time. For then Dave to say, oh, for a week or two, I've not been feeling connected to you. I kind of was questioning my ability to kind of feel into a relationship. And then I just thought, well, actually, I was feeling connected because I was deeply connected. It didn't actually matter where you were. But I think that's the difference. And I think once you find that, you can be in relationship in a very different way because it's not needy. It's not, I don't know, it's a very different thing. Like I said to Lucia the other day, oh, can I give you a hug? You look so cute. And she went, no. And I said, oh, well, let me give you my love. And she goes, I don't need your love. I've got my love inside of me and you've got yours inside of you. And I went, ah, yeah, that's true. I was like, oh my God, go on, let me give you a hug. But I'm so, like, she does seem to have this scent. Like the other day, you got her thing saying, Daddy's the boss, and it had the Lion King on it. So she liked it, and I said, well, do you know what boss means? So she said, no. Like, we have to really check in with her because we just assume she knows.
Because she's so awesome with vocabulary, isn't she?
So then we explained to her what a boss meant. So I said to her, well, who do you think the boss is then? She went, me. And I was like, obvious.
You think you do, so you
But yeah, just when you start to find yourself, and people call it the true self, the soul, that place within you before all of the ideas and creations that we've had, you do get more secure because your security isn't outside of you anymore. Your security exists in that place or space or no place, formless. Like your security is there, so then you're not as attached to the comings and goings of form in the way that you used to be, because you can't be. But if we place our happiness and our well-being on external people or things or events, we're always going to feel at sea. And it's strange because on the one hand, the only kind of constant is that change, that formless energy creating, but that whatever that space is constant. The only change is in appearance. And I think that's the nice thing. So it settles you down in a way that, I don't know, you become more aware of the comings and goings, the changing in forms from a very different place inside of you. You're not as thrown around by it. And people describe, when people talk about the weather, they also talk about, you know, you're in the ocean, but you're like, you're riding it rather than being like drowned by it all the time. And I think when you understand more about, and it's not even an understanding because it's not intellectual, And like we get lost in the words of all of this.
I was just thinking, we're trying to point to this,
Using that.
but you've got to use that.
But we all have a I think that's why that feeling, people get a feel for it. You get a feel for when you're caught up, and you get a feel for when you're just really settled down. And then you start to notice in life how things show up different depending on where you're coming from. Not in a judgment way, just in a like, oh, that's interesting. Like I've learned to not make big decisions out of that absolute anxiety, awful place. Because I used to just make knee-jerk reaction decisions. And I've allowed myself time to settle back down. And that works in my life. That's been something that's worked for me. And I think that's the beauty of it, that you get to learn something which then teaches you. You're learning from that formless space. You're allowing new, fresh thought to come to mind. You're allowing like wisdom and guidance, and rather than just being trapped in your little version of yourself of what's possible or not possible, you're open, you're expansive. And I remember that was one of the words I used when I first came across this. I felt so expansive that there was times I would almost feel too big to be in my body, like just like this expansive feeling of possibility and like, what else? And like, if this is scratching the surface, what else? And I think that's why I've loved being around this and listening to people, because I'm always learning. I'm always noticing, and it's a privilege, but that formless space is never left. We just get caught in characters. And if you know that, then you can kind of be a bit more discerning with it. And
you can also be a bit more patient with it.
Yeah.
A bit more patient with yourself and
other people.
And other people, and just be kinder to yourself and other people. We live in a convincing illusion. You know, my reality, it took somebody to point it out to me. You live in a delusionary reality. And the further we go into suffering, the further into the delusion we've entered. And yeah, you know, it's a convincing thing. It's a convincing experience. It looks like all of our experience is happening to us, like Rach was just pointing out at the beginning. You know, it looks like the weather inflicts feelings upon us. Some people get diagnosed with SAD, seasonally associated disorder. Affective.
I think it's a seasonal effect.
How do you spell affective?
Affective or affected? Affected, I think.
Yeah. Check it out. Check it out. Let's be accurate.
Okay.
What did I say? Affected. Oh God. Anyway. Yeah.
There you go.
I can't even remember how I was going with that.
Affective disorder.
Affective.
Yeah. You keep calling it something else.
Do I? What did I say?
Seasonal. What did Dave say?
What did I say? Nobody's listening. Associated.
Yeah, you keep using, yeah.
Yeah. All right, stand corrected. Anyway, I can't even remember what the hell I was talking about.
Every time you say it, I'll correct it. Then you made me question myself.
So used to being corrected, it's just like water for duck's back. It goes in one ear and out another.
Well, it's here correction.
That's what I mean. I get corrected by everybody.
It's not raspberries, it's raspberries.
God. Do you know how I say it, Daddy? Grasmere. Well, you're wrong. It's Grasmere. It's in Cumbria, and it said Grasmere. All right, Luce? What are you teaching my kid?
What did she say the other day about not listening to you?
I don't know, what was that?
It was yesterday. I never do what Daddy does, or I never copy what Daddy says, something like that.
She doesn't.
I'm really pleased.
She does seem to look at me and go, I'm not doing that.
Well, I was saying today, it's interesting because you've always said you had to learn everything the hard way. You'd had to, like,
most things.
That's going to be hot. You'd have to touch it to check. Like, you've always had to do that. But it seems so far with Lucia. If you explain to her why something might hurt or that it is going to be hot, she like really takes it on board and learns it, and then will tell other people about it. Or don't touch that because it's going to hurt, and you've got to be careful near the road because cars could hurt you. Like she really will listen and kind of
interpret,
and she can learn.
yeah.
She seems to be able to learn from other people's experience rather than needing to have the experience herself. To like, oh yeah, no, that really does hurt, or that really isn't a good idea. I'm quite pleased.
You're pleased she's more like you than me.
Just in that area.
Yeah.
Because you've had to learn a lot of things the hard way. But then maybe there's lessons that you've learned that she'll miss out on. Or she's just wiser.
She seems to be, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Sad. Does anybody else want to share anything? Any questions, reflections, observations?
Can I just say that that chart was, for some reason, really helpful. I think I've seen that chart that you showed with the formula. I think I've probably seen it before. So I don't know if it's what you said or along with the chart, but it sort of somehow made it clearer that, you know, you talk about all different thoughts are essentially neutral and the same, whatever the yogurt thought and the suicide thought are the same thing. For some reason, it made it a lot clearer. I don't know why that is.
Cool. Don't question it. Be grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ali, love.
It's funny, we've actually seen that diagram be used and then cause like a bit of back and forth between
spiritual,
like two teachers, and
yeah,
one of them's like, well, that line doesn't actually exist, and the other one's saying, yeah, but it's metaphorical. It's just like it caused a lot of
it's really,
it was really funny.
Wasn't it? These two people kind of going ding, 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 arguing about a bloody diagram. I'm right. Oh.
I love it when that happens, Ali, when something just seems to sink in and you don't even know what it is. It's just something settles, or I don't know. No, there aren't words to it. I think we think we understand something when we can talk about it, and so often it isn't in
articulate.
It's not in the words of it at all.
Yeah, I mean, another word for that is the now.
The dot.
Well, all of it is the now. So it's ever happening. It's all the same thing. We call it energy. Does anybody know what energy is? I don't. Thought? Anybody know what thought is? We use words. And the moment we create form, we think it's real. And we get so attached to the words, and we create identities, form around form. So we create form around the word. Like fractals. It's just breaking off into a new version of itself. I mean, form around form around form around form around form, and before you know it, we're so lost in knowledge. And we think that we need more knowledge to free us from the knowledge that's keeping us prisoner. So we're sick of all the books, but we're going to add some more to our library. I need to find the next book that's going to free me from this fucking prison of a library. And then you have a moment like Ali where you just go, I don't know what it is. No book involved. But I seem to be a little bit freer somehow. Something's shifted.
Well, someone we spoke to last week just said, I just feel a bit more, I feel more ease. Oh, that's a beautiful word, like just ease.
Ease, yeah. It's another word for ease, peace.
It's interesting. I read an article this morning about a child that was born in India in I think it was the 1930s, who, as soon as they could speak, so I think from about the age of 3, they spoke about their husband and their children. And when the mother used to try and make food, she'd like correct her and tell her she was making it wrong. And I think when she was 7, she gave enough information, and a teacher then contacted someone in the village of where she was talking about. She was talking about somewhere very far away from her, and all of the information she'd given was correct. So her husband was like quite shocked by this information, so he sent his brother to meet her. So he turned up and pretended to be her husband, and she was like, oh no, it's his cousin, sorry. And she knew, no, that was, I've met you before, you're my husband's cousin. And like, she literally knew everything, and she got to go and meet her family and her children. And I was kind of reading it, and like this, they've tried to find all rational reasons how that's possible. But when you were speaking, I was just thinking, it's that idea of we think we are this form, and we get so attached to this form and the form that we take. But then there's like weird things like that, well, not even weird, but like things like that happen that make you question, like, what is it? What is life? Who are we? What are we? Yeah, but it's worth looking at the article, because it's fascinating. You're like, stuff coming out of a 3-year-old's mouth, and information that they knew. And she knew where she'd hidden her jewelry and her money that he hadn't even found, so she knew where it was and how much was there. She managed to get off the train and then go around this village that she had obviously never been to as a 7-year-old, and knew where everything was. And it's like, wow, like there is so much more to life than we think.
Yeah.
But we get so attached to this form.
That's one the Buddhists are always kind of, and Hindus, I think, are always kind of pointing towards, like, stop being attached to form, stop being attached to form, stop being attached to form. Because it's only in our attachment do we create suffering.
And in your diagram, I was thinking like the formless takes form and then goes back
Yeah.
into the formless, like
It's a circle.
Yeah.
Everything's a circle. Dr. Seeker.
Hi.
Hi.
So my questions to Jen primarily, because you said that, how do I articulate this? You said regarding relationships, the feeling that Dave was having was due to the state of mind that he was in. And though we can recognize that it is due to the state of mind, how do we shift that state into a better one? I just wanted to know if it is all about just sitting still with it, or just calling it out as, yes, I'm just having a series of thoughts, and therefore I am in the state of mind that I'm in, and therefore I'm feeling the negative feeling towards the other person. La di da. I'm just wondering if there's something that you do to, or both of you do, to shift that state of mind where we are going from the negative to more loving nature towards each other.
But I think in that instance, I could see how David got himself in the state he was in, given what he was telling me about all the content of like why he I'm feeling pressure because of the community. I'm feeling a pressure because you left your marriage. I'm feeling a pressure because your dad doesn't like me. I'm feeling like I could see where he was. So it was easy for me to be understanding in that. And the only thing I wanted him to become aware of is that he was making a huge amount of meaning out of it. But you can't force yourself out of a feeling. But I thought I knew that if I just shone a bit of light on for Dave in terms of, you think this means something about a relationship, it means everything about where you are in consciousness. But actually then I left it alone. I didn't then try and make him feel better or convince him that actually it was worth it. Like it was, I could kind of just see it had been driving himself mad. And that's the thing, like with myself, when I'd had my moments of just been like, oh God, I don't feel anything toward, like I literally wouldn't have any feeling towards Dave. And I'd be like, God, I've literally like uprooted my entire life. But I was aware, I've become aware of when to listen and when not to. And I think my feeling state tells me that. But it's not that I could suddenly feel all in love again. But I used to then when that feeling would I'd just suddenly look at Dave and I'd have that feeling and I'd be so grateful. I'm so grateful I allowed that to come back in. Because like you said, in your life, you'd had that experience and it'd happen again and again and again, and then you'd leave the relationship.
Yeah, and finish
because you think, oh, that means something. But I think when you allow your mind to settle, we make more, the choices we make are generally better for our lives. But then you look back and you're like, but I'm glad I am where I am, and I did leave when I left because of where I am now. So it's all the perfect unfolding.
Yeah.
But I think we act out of bad feeling a lot of the time because we listen to those and think they mean more. So I think we can get attached to the negative and think that that's telling us something about ourselves or the world, or we get urgent when we're in that place. And I think that coming across the principles has just allowed me to see, like, our experience of life is going to go up and down. And the less I buy into any of it, it seems to have a space where it settles. And then I move from there more often. But I don't think you can force it. Like, and it was all right. It's all right to not feel connected to your partner sometimes. That's totally normal and natural.
Totally.
And I think the other thing you see is like, well, actually, when you're just off, if you go off and with like, you go off and look around the shops, Dave will meet someone and fall in love with them and have this most amazing conversation. Me and Lucia don't exist for him in that moment because he's just lost in this beautiful conversation. And he might completely forget that he's meeting us, or I can't actually get hold of him. I don't know where he is. Like, but it doesn't mean anything about me. So we actually fall on and off of each other's mind all the time. But we take it all so personally. And we make our well-being and our kind of good feeling dependent on this other person. And I think it's easy. I do with Lucia all the time. Like, she can be awful. Like she's so unreasonable and rude to me sometimes. But I can still be gentle and loving. I can still say, okay, I don't want you to talk to me like that. But
awesome at that.
And I think with you, like, more of the time I am able to do that. And you, to me, is you just see that someone's not in a good space. If someone was ill, you'd probably be kind to them. But when someone's lost in thinking and in a low space, we often can take it personally and then like add to their
We'll make it all about us.
yeah, we make everything about us.
It's all about me now, isn't it? Your bad mood's all about, well, you're ruining my day now.
But that's the thing.
I'm
Like,
alive.
I can have a day with Lucia where she is literally like up and down and she can get absolutely infuriated and I've done everything wrong and I've not built it right and I can't read her mind, so I can't actually do what she's wanting me to do because she can't even explain what she wants. But I don't take her personally. And that's actually possible for us in any relationship. But we put meaning on it. We create so much of a story around things. But actually, it's never personal. The other person's experience of life is not personal to you, ever.
No.
And when you know that, you stay in your good feeling, you stay in your grounding or your whatever we want to call it, and not get so kind of washed around by it all.
I mean, we never fall out.
Oh yeah, I never.
No, because we're so spiritual. We never fall out and we never disagree, you know, and I can't think of anything else to say about that. But
If we did,
if we did, if we weren't as spiritual as what we actually are, thank you. Yeah, we would probably have a little bicker, I'm guessing, about something and nothing that looks like the biggest deal in the world. And then we'd snap at each other. And I remember one time we were on the computer and I was doing the tax return. Right. In my world, right, there isn't much more of an annoying thing to have to do than sit down and me give up my earthbound existence to figure out how much of my money I have to give to a group of people I don't particularly like, right? I find that quite difficult, and I have done for my whole self-employed life, right, which is like since I'm 21, 25 years now, right? I've struggled with that, and many years I would have on my next tax return a brand new laptop because I've just gone, oh, bloody hit my screen and smashed my laptop fucking thing. Because I didn't want to have to do that. And we were doing tax return, I was like, fucking thing like this. And Jenny's like, don't you dare touch my computer. I'm going to touch your computer, am I? And you just went,
Well, you exploded. I was just like,
you just went, you're a fucking cunt. And stormed out the room, right? And then went downstairs. And then she literally went downstairs, came back up and went, she'd left her phone, right? She'd left her phone on the table. So she had nothing to do while she was downstairs being in a bad mood with me. So you came back upstairs. And when you looked at me, I looked at you. We both just burst out laughing. We're like, I love you too. And I feel like that's kind of how our arguments go, isn't it? It's like we could be proper dickheads, but we seem to be able to forgive each other very quickly. Like,
well, and sometimes you're just niggly with each other, and then in the next moment, there's no forgiving. It's just
you've just forgotten,
move on,
just moved on, and it doesn't need to be brought up, doesn't need to be addressed. You just.
I think I said it. We were friends a few weeks ago, and they bicker a lot, and then they have to talk about what they've been bickering about, and
then they start bickering about what they're talking about.
Yeah, and I'm like, just
give up.
Stop it. Why can't we just have a nice time?
Just have a nice life.
Sorry, Sig, I don't
Sorry about the language.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna
No, that was perfect.
How do you bleep that word? Oh, bleep.
spell it.
Oh yeah.
Cena.
Cena. Jenny once said to me, "You are in front of Lucia."
No, it wasn't in front of Lucia.
It wasn't in front of.
It was in front of. I think it was in front of Archie.
Was it in front of Archie? You went. You are just a CNUT. I was like, Cena? What's a Cena? So now sometimes we do say to each other, "You've been a Cena."
So fantastic.
Oh, but it is.
So
It's true.
enlightened.
It's so enlightened. So I don't know. I can speak for myself. When Jen's in a bad mood, I try as best I can to go and to get her a cup of tea or something and just give her a hug or try and be kind, because it's not about me. And then if I'm in a bad mood, it's not about Jen, and she's awake enough to know that. And we just let each other feel.
Mm.
You know, we don't try and correct each other. We don't talk about we don't talk about the principles or anything like that. We just let each other feel. Like, why not?
That's it. It only ever ends up being an argument if both of us are not in a good feel, like both of us are not in a good space. But generally speaking, like one of us is always like can see it for what it is. So it just stops arguments dead. If one person isn't playing, it stops it dead. And I think luckily enough in relationship it does seem it's not very often we're both in a low space.
No.
But and then when we are, we might bicker or like bitch each other, and then it's like it's gone. You can't
give
take
each other a hug and get on with it.
Yeah.
But I remember in our vows, I mean, I'm not saying this is for everybody's relationship, but we said in our vows, I will be with you for as long as I want to be with you. Do you know what I mean? Because both of us feel secure enough in our own lives to just not need each other And so we said it in our vows, you're free to go whenever you wish.
Mm.
You're free to go. And that was when we were getting married. You're free to go whenever you wish. And I think because we have that kind of freedom in our, not freedom to go off and be with other people, but the freedom to kind of be, we know we're all right no matter what.
Mm.
You know, once you become aware that all experience is born the same way, then you become aware that there is nothing to break. You cannot be broken. You are an ongoing, eternal experience, which is why young girls can go, I know this place where my money is, and it's from my last life, because it's a continuum. And like when you know that kind of space, when you become aware of it, it's like you can allow each other the freedom to live your life, and you allow me the freedom to live my life, and we share the life together. And but we do it because we really want to, and that to me is a really ace thing. It's not, I know it's not for everybody, but yeah,
I remember when I was about 19, I got really upset in a relationship, and I was so insanely insecure and jealous. Like I was just mad. I was mental at 19. And she said, but it's like if you try and cage a beautiful bird, it loses its beauty in a way, and it wants to escape, kind of thing. She said, but if you let a bird be free and it comes back to you, you kind of know that you're. And I was like, that's a load of rubbish. No, you've got to basically cage someone. You need to hold on to them. And then I think I came across the principles at 23, and I'm like, like it's not in trying to hold something. I can't remember. She said it in a really good way. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember at the time freaking out, being like, no, I don't want my partner to be free. Like I need to trap them. I need to hold on to them. And then I was like, oh, that's what she meant, actually.
I don't know. Well, hold on anymore. Sorry,
I thought we'd been jigging.
Yeah, that's beautiful, the whole like description of everything, because in my previous relationship I used to hold on to the circumstance of what made me angry, and I'd go and try to explain myself so much, so that the other person could understand my point of view, and it was just a losing battle. And I remember not ever being able to get out of the bad feeling, and that would go on for days and days. And yes, coming into the principles is easier, but this conversation that you brought up, it kind of took me back into being in that state of having the relationship and going through some really turbulent times, and then yeah, and eventually having to get out of it. So yeah, I guess I have to, I have to, and because it was such a negative experience being in that relationship, I haven't tried to go into any other, and kept myself aloof and uh, sort of protecting myself, and listening to how the principles has impacted your understanding between the both of you. It kind of gives hope to
It's nice though.
what
I know
could
people
be.
that one person comes across it and the other person's not interested, but it still changes the relationship, because it, it does take two people to keep playing the game.
Yeah.
two to tango.
And I think when I remember that being said, but it's like one person can try and do it on their own, like they can try and do a tango. But if the other person won't join in and play, it will get boring quite quickly. And I think like there's been times I think when I've tried to get you to play and you just haven't, and then it fizzles out really, really quickly. And I think the principles the more we find a security within ourselves, and it's not to do with anything external. And I think when we take that into a relationship, we show up different. It's not to say we don't have our wobbles. And I remember saying to you, like, I felt like when we met, I'd just been in such a level place for such a long time. I felt like the principles came along and it stabilized me, because I used to be so up and down, and it really did. It was like this leveler. And I think at that point I'd been around the principles for 10 years, and I just I was in just a rhythm of life that was very, very balanced, and I didn't really have any extreme stuff happening. And I did say to you, like, getting into a new relationship, I know this potentially is gonna show things up in me that I haven't seen, and all those kind of things. But I was kind of gentle with myself around that. And there was things that came up that I thought I'd let go of. And there are times when I'm like, wow, can't believe I can still get weird about that. But with understanding, I think you're more forgiving of yourself, you're more loving of yourself. You can have conversation in a way that's not reactive. Like, I can talk to you about something without blaming. In my past relationships, often I'd blame the other person. Whereas if you have a conversation about an experience you're having, but you're not being like, you're making me feel like this, you're like, this is how I'm feeling. I can see it looks totally irrational and weird to you, but so I've been so grateful to have this awareness in 10 years into my understanding, then entering a new relationship. It was really powerful to have this awareness, because it definitely threw things in, like, things got thrown into my experience I never expected, and like old patterns and ideas and stuff that seemed to take hold for a bit. But it's like, just, I don't know, I don't think you can take life as seriously anymore. Like, not in a horrible way. I think there's just so much more bursting out laughing in the middle of an argument, and finding all of it like, what even is all this? What do I even think I
What are we
know?
doing?
Yeah, like, what is this? What do we talk about on community group? We've been doing this community group. You've been doing it for 12 years. I've been doing it with you for 10 years. Like, what the heck do we talk about like, what are we talking about? And I think there's that, but there's something beautiful that happens.
Convincing
And like,
delusion.
the people coming in and out of our lives, and people that come to group and then go off for a bit and then come back, and just all of it. It's amazing that we can keep talking about something that you can't talk about. So then we point at it, and
infinite form from infinite formlessness.
yeah.
But forgive me, I came in and I think I got the gist of what you were saying. But did you say you never got into another relationship because you're protecting yourself?
Yes.
From what?
I'm protecting myself from reliving that experience again. It's a fear. I understand it's irrational.
So you're protecting yourself
Although
from reliving the same experience.
Yes, of making. I find it hard to. That's a good question, Dave. Thank you. There is the fear that the state of peace that I'm in, it's so beautiful because of the principles. And I love it so much that I don't want to rock the boat, so to speak. Because if someone else was to come in and I'm not so grounded in myself enough to be able to ride that wave of whatever discontentment or a negative situation, and then it disrupts my peace again. So basically, I am afraid of anyone coming in to rock my peace boat.
You're afraid to feel different.
I'm afraid to feel the the pain of loving someone so much and then losing it all over again. Because I lost my system. I lost myself. And when I found myself back, I'm like, oh, I love myself so much now that I don't want to give it to somebody else to break. And
Was this pre-principles or?
that was pre-principles. I didn't know anything about the principles then.
Okay.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. So now that I've had this beautiful peace, and I'm actually being selfish. I don't want to share it with anybody else, to be
You don't
honest.
have to. You really don't have to.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like that's coming from fear
Yes.
rather than love.
Yes,
It's
it
not
is.
expansive, it's contractive. And I think by now you know enough to know that your experience is not created by anybody other than yourself. You see, and that an individual who has that awareness makes an awesome partner. It's a gift to share that with other people. And like I say, you don't have to do anything. It's your life. Entirely your life. But I wanted to ask you the question, what are you protecting yourself from? Because if you look closely, you'll realize it's feelings.
Yeah.
That's what we're protecting ourselves from. I don't want to feel. Why? Why have we become so afraid of feelings?
Because we think we can be broken by them.
Yeah, what monsters have we turned them into? What monsters have we conjured up about feelings?
When you were speaking, Secret, it reminded me of little Rach when we were in South Africa.
Yeah.
So it was like a long story short, she was somebody that a lot of the other girls wanted us to speak to, and they didn't think she'd speak to us. We said, we'll get all of your friends together and we'll speak to you, and then hopefully you'll be able to talk to her about what we've been talking about. But she happened to come to the training and we didn't know who she was. And
Just 20 odd girls there, weren't there?
yeah, she was only 16 at the time. And we'd been talking for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then she sort of put her hand up and she said, it's like fire. You've been burnt by it. So you learn to fear it, you're afraid of it, but then you never get to experience the warmth and the glow and the beauty of it. And she was talking about feelings.
She's talking about the mind.
In the mind, like you get so afraid because you've been burnt by it that you then never allow yourself to experience the beauty and the warmth and the glow of it. And when you were speaking, it's like you can see how we do that with life. Like we have a feeling and we get so afraid of it that we then we almost shut down a whole load of other possibilities because of that one thought. And actually, there is no right and wrong in this life. Like if you're just happy in your own company and you're not looking for that, and it's just out of, I'm just totally happy, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think you were just picking up, it sounds like there's a lot of fear there, like potentially you'd like it but you're too afraid of it. So it's good just to notice that,
yeah,
and be aware of that, and then I feel like there's an openness that can happen again.
Then you expand, you get that expansion again.
And you fear feelings less. Because actually you said you don't want to be broken again. But what is it that can be broken?
If you can sit there now whole.
It's not about being broken. I didn't want to lose my peace of mind because I've allowed the principles to work its magic in every area of my life except for this one piece. And it is almost like I don't trust myself in that regard. And you know what? All of this, yeah, the thoughts, feelings, all of that stuff, it's there. And yet I cannot rationally tell myself that is just the fear. Okay. But
No, you can't.
I can't. So
No, you can't. And well spotted,
just,
because you can't. It's not the way it
yeah,
works.
it isn't. And it's beautiful to see how it can create such a beautiful avalanche of emotions in you, even though so much time has passed and it's still so fresh and can be only by the power of thought. And I recognize that. And maybe it's all right to hold on to it for as long as it needs to have that space, I guess. And then eventually
No rules.
it will die out if it's meant to, or I'll continue living in the peace of mind that I've attained.
Yeah, there's no rules.
We've got
Yeah.
a really good friend who was single after being in a long-term relationship, and it ending not through not loving one another, but through different difficult circumstances.
Who's that?
I'll tell you afterwards.
Give me a name. Letter.
No.
Letter.
No. And they had probably about 5 years single, and some of the experiences this person has had in terms of almost just disappearing, like it just becoming everything, like just incredible. She's had these amazing experiences, just incredible, and just this life that she created, and then bolt out of the blue met someone, and it has definitely rocked the boat.
Walked into a shop
in some beautiful ways and then some really tricky ways. But looking at her and then that example, it's like, I don't think we even get to choose. I don't know if she felt ready to have her boat rocked, but her boat got rocked. And it's been fascinating over the last 3 years kind of watching it and then seeing how that kind of equilibrium, that balance is finding them again. But I think that's the beautiful thing about this.
The mad experiences they've had and the journey.
But one of the things she said is that she's never felt so deeply connected to life and kind of the expansive openness as when she was single. She said when she was in a relationship, it doesn't feel quite as free and expansive. So that's going to be coming from invisible thought within her, but still that's been her experience.
That's been my experience as well.
Yeah, but you've spoken about it before, but like what you then get from it is like kind of worth it. And I've got another friend who said a very similar thing, that when he was single for about, I think, 15 years, and some of the spaces and experiences, and he just used to vanish, didn't he? And then he got in a relationship and he said it feels like there's a density to it that he didn't experience when he was single. So there's not a right and a wrong, and it's not, I don't know, but it's just the allowing.
Yeah, I was just curious about that bit, love, because it's, I don't know. I took a load of magic mushrooms. Well, we did. I'm a sister and another mate, and
It's in 2020.
2020, was it?
No, 2019.
2019. We took a lot, and we set off on this walk, and I was like, no, we got to get back to the yurt because I'm starting to not be able to walk. And got back to, I realized when the mountain had turned into like this big turtle that was coming towards me, right, now's a good time to get back to the yurt. And we walked through all these different dimensions, didn't we? And like, I don't know how long it took us to get
20
back to,
minutes.
20 minutes, was
But
it?
it felt like we'd been gone for days.
Days, yeah. And I ran around, and I was like a sheepdog trying to herd people into the yurt, get into
I'd
the
say
yurt.
more like a military kind of.
Was it?
Yeah, it was awful.
A military sheepdog.
Yeah.
Get into the yurt, get into the yurt, get into the yurt, go, just get into the yurt, get into the yurt.
Like a massive panic, like
Yeah.
something awful was going to happen.
Like I was so stressed out. And then all of a sudden my sister's been sick and purging, and oh God, and get in the yurt, get in the yurt, get in the yurt. Then Rusty, my little Jack Russell's eating her sick, right? And it took me a few moments to realise what the hell was going on. Great. Now my dog's just eating a load of mushrooms. So I'm like, get in the yurt, Russ, get in the yurt. Good lad. And oh God. Anybody, I love animals, right? I am top animal man. Anybody who watches this on YouTube, please don't hate me. And anyway, eventually I got everybody into the yurt. And once everybody got in the yurt, I left. I just left the yurt and I went and sat outside. When everything was a vibration, everything was one massive vibration. And there was so much power in that vibration. I'm like, that yurt's going to take off. It's going to take off. It's like, how is there so much power in everything? I was just like, whoa. And then all of a sudden, this little voice came in my head. It said, why are you constantly trying to keep people safe? Couldn't answer it. And it asked me the question, safe from what? What are you keeping them safe from? And that hit me like a ton of bricks as an aspect of my ego. I've been an overprotective man. I ended up in prison for being overprotective of my sister. You know, and it's played a big part in my life, this ego of being a protector. And sometimes I liked that, you know, I want people to love me. It was when I was younger, pre-33, pre-waking up, you know, it was a big part of my ego. You got any problems, come to Dave. You come to me. You come to me, I'll sort you out. It's a big part of my ego. I'll look after you. But this little voice in my head asked me, what are you keeping people safe from? Hit me like a ton of bricks. And I remember going to the yurt and saying, I've just seen an enormous part of my ego, how much I worry about people. My mate Matt sat up like a corpse in a coffin. He just sat up, looked at me and went, no, you care, and went back. And I was like, oh, that's the pole, everything. And then everything became polar. I could see the duality in everything. It was an amazing experience. It was a really awesome experience. But that what are we keeping ourselves safe from? Experience, feelings. Really, all we're keeping ourselves safe from is experience. Experience doesn't die. It never ends. That's why the girl can continue into her next life and know about this little spot in India. And there's zero scientific evidence of death being final. Zero. There's not one single scrap of evidence, scientific evidence anywhere that death is final, but there is so much scientific evidence that after death you continue in experience. It's all experience. Everything is experience. But we become afraid of experiences. And I feel like the more we become aware of the nature of experience, the less we fear it. And the freer we just seem to find ourselves, and the easier life becomes. It's really simple. That was the thing that blew me away, was on my moment of awakening, how simple it all is. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing, just showing up in a whole spectrum of array of things and experiences, feelings. And that's how my depression, my chronic depression, vanished in a moment. It was when it was seen for what it was. It's not a thing, it's not an illness, it's not a brokenness, it's not me malfunctioning. It's a habit of thought. It's a perception, it's a creation that I am creating. Because I am a divine phenomena of infinite proportion that can create reality and experience, just like everybody else on earth. And the moment I went from identifying with the form to realizing the formless nature of it all, it made sense. Oh, now it makes sense. Now life starts to make sense. Now I have more say. Thanks, Seeker Love. Love you, love. All right. 9:10.
Done well.
Doing well. Been doing tree surgery today. I'm not much fit, so I'm still awake. Thank you all for being here. Love you all. And yeah, Monday,
Yes.
next Monday, we will be here, 7 o'clock. If you can make it, it'll be lovely. God bless everyone. Loads of love.